Meta Platforms continues to show why it is a top AI company. With its amazing earnings, the stock is up over 10%. But during the earnings call, Meta CFO mentioned that Gen AI will not be a meaningful driver of revenue in 2024. Does this mean that AI is all hype? Will AI investments slow down? And is this bad news for AI companies like Nvidia that need tech giants like Meta to continuously invest in AI chips like the H100? Welcome. For those not familiar, my name is Jose Najarro, and I spent way too much time reading about semiconductors and AI. But thanks to that, my master's in electrical engineering and my experience working at various innovative companies, I believe that I have created the number one semiconductor podcast for investors. So let's get started with today's episode and let's try to see what's happening behind Meta right now.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So I think the first thing we should start off is by kind of taking a closer look at that comment the CFO mentioned. So the CFO mentioned that generative AI is not going to be a meaningful portion of this company's revenue in 2024. She did mention that in the long term, they do believe that this will be a strong contributor factor. And when investors read this, and I saw a few Twitter posts about this as well, or X posts, and they mentioned, hey, look, this the CFO mentioned this, so this must mean that AI is all hype. But I believe when we kind of talk or mention things like that, it means that we don't really understand the true capabilities of AI. And when we think of AI, Gen AI is not the only solution that Meta has. So right now, I kind of created a very, very small kind of tree diagram that kind of explains maybe the different AI solutions. So when we think of AI, I think right now the most popular and the one everybody discusses is generative AI. And Meta actually has a lot of open source solutions. And during their earnings call, they actually mentioned why they believe open source is the best route for them. But here we can see that Meta most recently announced, for example, Ego Exo 4D, which is a foundational data set for research on video learning and multimodal perception. They have AudioBox, which is generating audio from voice and natural language prompts. They also have like Emu Video and Emu Edit, which helps with generative AI video. And more importantly, they have Llama, right, which is their kind of competitor to OpenAI's ChatGPT. So when we think of generative AI solutions, those are the solutions that you should think about. But when we think about AI, that is not the only solution you should think about. While Gen AI might not be a revenue contributor, the other types of AI solutions that Meta has are helping this company grow and grow. So the two main things are both recommenders, and the first is content recommender. This is what pushes content to the viewer. And the overall purpose of this is to keep the viewer in the platform via Instagram, via Facebook, via threads, and so on and so forth. And this is important, right? Because the more time you are on the platform, the more of time that Meta has to give you ads. And this is a great way to kind of combat competition, right? When TikTok came out of nowhere, this was their way for them to combat TikTok while TikTok was taking market share. And thanks to their content recommender, now they are able to kind of grab market share back from TikTok thanks to all the kind of solutions that they have provided there. Now, the second type of recommender is the ad recommender. I mentioned that content recommender makes the user stay in the content a lot longer. Ad recommender, in the other hand, uses the information that it knows and pushes ads to highly potential customers. So we know Meta is a huge advertisement company. And for you to be a huge advertisement company, you have to provide amazing, amazing results for your advertisers. So let's say I wanted to advertise in Meta. I want to be able to make sure that my ads are hitting the right person, that I'm able to get money back multiple times higher than what I spent on ads. And the way they're able to do this is by their ad recommenders. And all of this is trained via AI. So while generative AI within itself might not be a revenue driver for them, the other two types of AI solutions that they have are definitely ones that are helping this company grow and giving them the ability to, for example, to be paying a dividend which they recently announced. Now, Meta stock, as we can see, is dominating after earnings. The stock is up roughly 15%, sitting at $454. And for those that are not familiar, Meta Platforms is actually a company we follow very closely in this channel, especially during the downfall in 2022 when the stock hit a low of under $90 on November 4th. And one thing that I have always mentioned is Meta is more than just an advertisement company. They are a true AI player. And luckily, thanks to YouTube, we do have the receipts. We do have here a video that I made on November 8th of 2022, 4 days after that low, where I take a closer look at why to be bullish on Meta Platforms, even though the stock price is tanking. So now that we understand that Meta has always been an AI company, and we also understand the different types of AI solutions, I want to kind of explain more of how Meta is thinking about this AI market, and then more importantly, how NVIDIA investors should also think about this and why this is overall bullish. So Meta does mention that moving forward, their major goal is to build the most popular and most advanced AI products to be able to become the world-class AI assistant to get things done. They mentioned every creator will have some form of AI, every business will have some form of AI that their customers can interact with to buy and get support. Every developer will have a state-of-the-art open source model to build with, and they want to continue to bring AI to various different types of people in the world right now. Like we saw content creators, like we saw advertisers, business users, and even code creators. Now, in talks of AI, they do mention that AI needs a lot and a lot of computational power. They do believe that they have one of the greatest compute infrastructure in the world right now. By the end of the year, they are expected to have roughly 350,000 H100s. If that's about $25,000 on average, that's a multi-billion-dollar investment to NVIDIA. They mentioned that if you kind of look at other GPUs and their own kind of silicon solutions, they actually have around 600,000 H100 equivalents of compute, and they are well positioned now to continue to build on this overall GPU platform and GPU cluster. They also mentioned that going forward, they think training and operating future models will be even more compute intensive. They say on average, every year, it requires about 10 times more compute than the previous year to train the new state of the art large language models. So, obviously, at the end of the day, this already bodes well for NVIDIA as this company continues to release new generations of data center GPUs now on a yearly basis. They do mention that overall, they are playing to win here and expect to continue investing aggressively in this area in order to build the most advanced clusters. They're also designing special data centers and they're signing their own custom silicon specialized for their workloads. And this is something that maybe NVIDIA investors might be worried that, hey, look, they're building their own form of silicon. But at the end of the day, we have seen that while many companies have built their own silicon, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon, they still rely on NVIDIA, and NVIDIA continues to invest heavily in designing the best GPUs and designing the best AI accelerators. Now, before we take a closer look at CapEx, I do want to say thank you for the support. We're almost at 32,000 subs. I'm trying to hit 40,000 by the end of the year. So if you haven't, make sure to hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. Finally, if you want to support the channel a little bit more, check out my special offer at fool.com/Jose. So next, I want to take a closer look at capital expenditure to see how much money this company is expected to invest in AI solutions. They do mention that this quarter, it was roughly 7.9 billion. This was less than Google and less than Microsoft, but that's because those other players are a little bit behind compared to Meta. Meta invested in a lot of these H100s a lot earlier on. Now, if we take a closer look at their full-year capital expenditure, they do mention there'll be roughly $30 to $37 billion. That's about a $2 billion increase on the high end of the prior range. And they mentioned this overall growth is going to be driven by servers, including both AI and non-AI. And one of the reasons they updated their outlook is because they are understanding their AI capacity and are prepping themselves for the next generation of foundational models. And even though they weren't guiding beyond 2024, they did mention that they expect their ambitions long term AI research and product development efforts will require growing infrastructure investments beyond this year. So that's just telling investors, hey, look, we're spending a lot of money in 2024, but if AI keeps going the way it's going, we're most likely going to invest a lot more in 2025. So that alone bodes well for semiconductor companies that are dealing with AI accelerators like NVIDIA. Now, I do believe hearing those kind of remarks from Meta Platforms has kind of given NVIDIA such a great reaction. We can see the stock was up 2.4% prior to the market closing, and after hours the stock is up nearly 1.7%. So right now we are seeing that, look, AI is not a hype. Maybe generative AI right now is very niche, but we are seeing that big tech players and companies like Meta Platforms still believe that this is the future. So I'm super excited to kind of listen to to Nvidia's earnings coming next month, and obviously this is going to be the best channel that you can find any AI news. So make sure to stay tuned, make sure to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and see you all next time.